Welcome everyone to our special customers only session. Today, we're going to better understand how you can win your market by using new ways to benchmark and track your competition. My name is Roy from the product marketing team here at Similarweb, and I'm joined today by our in-house expert, So. Can you quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Roy. It's really a pleasure to be here today, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is So. I'm a senior customer success manager here at Similarweb. I've been at Similarweb for about 3.5 years, and I work in the enterprise pod on mainly industries like retail and consumer goods. And we've got a lot of new exciting capabilities and reports to kind of showcase to you today. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So great to have you here today. We have a very packed and interesting agenda for you today. Um, uh, we are going to have both a live demo and time to answer all your questions. As we go, feel free to drop your questions in the chat at the chat at any time. We will address them during the session, and also we have a dedicated time for a Q&A to answer everything that is top of mind for you. But today is all about practical tips to help you use web intelligence to see what each of your competitors is actually doing across different business lines, to spot which areas are growing and where they're investing, so you can better understand your competitors' strengths and weaknesses and some of the gaps that they have. We will also spend time learning how your competitors are supporting these moves with different marketing tactics across different channels like search, display, and more. And finally, we will make sure that you are aware of all the ways to make sure that you keep track of all these recent movements so you never lose sight of your competitors and you're always on top and stay ahead. So you don't want to miss all these great features and best practices that we will share in just a few minutes. In the meantime, go ahead and open up the platform so it will be easier for you to follow the great demo that So made for you today. But before we do, we just have a quick question for you that will be really interesting to hear. How well do you think you know your main competitor? We'll just give you a few seconds to answer that. Give your best estimation. Okay, really interesting stats there. We'll just give it a few more seconds. Interesting. So we have almost 60% of you saying they know well enough and that you track them occasionally, which is good. But actually 33% of you say not well enough and don't have consistent insight on your competitors. So good that you came here today. We will make sure that we change this number. So any impressions or thought about this number?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting to see that while 60% seems like a lot of people are tracking their competitors well enough, I think having those consistent insights, which 33% have said they don't get, is extremely important because how people say that they've got an up-to-date view as well is also interesting because everything keeps changing so quickly with all the different industry trends that we see in the market and all the new fads and trends that we see coming up. There's almost no chance of you knowing everything out there. So that's exactly what Rowie said. We're going to help you understand that a little bit better today.
And just to add, only 8% of you said that they feel like they know the main competitor really well and track their activities um, in a good way that satisfies your needs. So we will make sure that we can help you increase that number as well. But this is exactly what we wanted to cover in today's session. We want to take a moment and talk about what you can see, what is hard to track in terms of your competitors' activities, because that comes with a price, that comes with a cost. Above the surface, you may recognize your competitors, but what's actually happening beneath the surface? For example, how confident are you to say that you know what new business lines your competitors are investing in? Or, for example, which areas of their business are growing faster or declining? Or what channels are boosting that growth? Or how their content, website, and ads just change? Are you aware of every single campaign they manage or every new type of content that they just created? Based on the answers that you just gave us, if you can't answer these questions with enough confidence, this is a risk of falling behind, and we want to make sure that we are helping you to move ahead. So our focus for today is to really help you discover all of these unknown, to make sure that you're not surprised by your competitor. Because when you know the market and know the competitor better and well enough, which is not the numbers that we've seen in the poll, you can really win the market. So in just 1 minute, I'll let So take over and show you the actual experience that we talked about. Um, the powerful ways to help you stay ahead of your competition, including benchmarking your business to your competitors' specific business lines, get smarter alerts to track key changes, and quickly see where your competitors are growing so you spot trends and act faster. So, before we actually see the experience, we have one more question for you. So, how do you currently monitor your competitors? You can select more than one choice. For example, do you set alerts to stay informed? Do you benchmark marketing channels, activity of your competition? Do you actually analyze the keywords and content topics of your competition? Or do you feel like you're mainly relying on public sources such as websites and other sources? So obviously there's a mix of answers here, so there's no one fits all answer, but yeah, really interesting to see the two leading sources. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. Yeah, we'll just give it. Yeah, so again, 60% of you say that they do benchmark their marketing channel activity, but 57% of you say that you really mainly rely on public sources. So do you find that answer coming very often from your customers?
Yeah, it does happen quite often that there's a lot of different sources that are public that are being referred to right now. But what we would love to encourage you for is to look at, sources and tools like Similarweb, which have a robust data methodology in order to collect all this data already available for you. And again, that's what we're going to touch on today. So it's really interesting to see those answers.
Yes, and again, I'm going to pick on the lowest number, which is only 12% set up alerts to stay informed. We really hope that by the end of the session, you will set up more alerts to make sure that you are more informed. But I've spoken enough. Over to you, so to show us in practice.
Thanks so much, Roy. All right, I'll go ahead and share screen. Perfect. Just want to confirm you can see the screen.
Yeah, all good.
Awesome. All right. So what we're going to do today is we're going to jump through a couple of different new capabilities that we've introduced into the platform. But the main goal of our session today is to really understand how you can use Similarweb to understand competitive intelligence and what your competitors are doing and what you can learn from it and hence identify opportunities of growth. So for today's session, like Rowie said, feel free to walk with me on the platform. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the beauty industry as a whole. But just before we jump into those reports, what I'd love for all of you to do is while we're going through these reports and insights, I would love for you to think of the if, then, and therefore framework. I actually love using this framework in terms of identifying what can really be actioned for my customers. And to tell you a little bit about what that is, when you find an insight, always try to answer the if, then, and therefore about it. So if you see insight X, then it means Y, and therefore you should action Z. So that's how you want to think about some of the insights that you see here. And I would encourage you all to think of think of it in that way today. So today we're going to start with the beauty and cosmetics industry. As you can see, we're looking at the UK market, but you can replicate this for any market that's relevant to yourselves. The workflow, the reports, etc., kind of are very similar, actually exactly the same for any market. So within the beauty industry in the UK, you can first see who those top players are. It's showing you the traffic share, and in terms of traffic share, which are the bigger websites. And you can obviously see the likes of Look Fantastic and Sephora, etc. on there. But when you compare to previous year, this is June this year versus the previous year, you can see that Space NK actually is seeing the highest increase of traffic coming to them. That's almost about a 1% increase of traffic. Now, obviously, the next question that comes to mind is what is driving that increase, right? That's when we jump into the new report called Business Lines. Now, Business Lines basically breaks down that traffic for you into all the different categories that the domain has to offer. So we are looking at Space NK here. We're looking at it for the last 6 months just to understand a broader perspective as to where that growth is coming from. And you can see that most of the traffic does come from categories like skincare, makeup, perfumes, etc. But if you look at all of the different categories here, one category that we're missing out on is, let's say we remove perfumes from the picture. That is the luggage and travel accessories category. If you look at its growth just month over month, that is growing at about 72%. And this is just in the last 1 month or so. Now, what that tells me is that they're actually pushing luggage and travel accessories a lot more than any of the other categories here because it's actually growing faster. And if you scroll down towards the bottom, you can actually see what the trend across the last 6 months looks like as well. How this helps you is you can identify when does that category tend to peak or trough during a particular year, a particular quarter, whatever time period you're looking at. And if you scroll down further, you can then see all the different business lines that Space NK has to offer within the UK market. You can see how much traffic comes to each of those categories or business lines. But what's also interesting to see is that trend and growth perspective. Because while luggage and travel accessories does not get as much traffic as, let's say, a skincare, it is a driving factor in the growth of that particular domain, in this case, Space NK, because it's seeing the highest amount of growth as compared to the other business lines. Similarly, you can also see the bathroom category grow at about 68%. Now, this is actually possible to look at for your competitors or your partners as well, right? You can always change around the domain that you have here. So let's say Space NK wanted to jump into a competitor domain. So let's look at Boots in that sense. Boots, again, is like a beauty pharmacy domain within the UK for those who don't know. And if you scroll down towards the bottom, you can see that they do have a lot more business lines that they do have to offer, but they are seeing growth across bathroom as well and sunglasses, which is really relevant to see, which basically tells you that Boots is also very, very focused on the seasonal peaks, and they tend to push products and categories during the right seasons. Now, taking in line the previous story that we saw for Space NK, one of the things that we noticed was that the luggage and travel industry was actually, category was actually growing really fast. So that got me thinking in terms of what is actually driving that peak, right? That's when we jump into the marketing channels view. Now, the marketing channels report, for anyone who doesn't know, tells you where is that traffic coming from to the particular domain. So we've mapped out Space NK here as against some of their main competitors. And what you can see from this heat map basically is that Space NK, which is the first one that you see here, is seeing growth across all marketing channels. Hence why in this competitor set, it's the only one that's actually growing at about 40%. So what we can do is break down that growth further to see what acquisition strategy is leading to that growth. Now, if you look at it very carefully, you can see that most of that growth kind of sits within the search area. You got 50% from organic, you've got 26% from paid search, which means people are typing in these search terms into search engines, which is ultimately leading traffic to Space NK. Now, what are they typing in that's leading that traffic to Space NK, right? The next question is to then look at the topics report. Now, the topics report basically will tell you all the different topics that people search for that ultimately bring that traffic back to Space NK. You can see that it's mainly the branded term, which is Space NK, obviously, but there's also skincare, makeup brands, rare beauty, specific beauty brands being searched for as well. But talking about that category of travel accessories, what we can do is narrow this down further to include anything related to travel. Now, if I look at the travel searches here, you can see that there's mainly searches around essentials for traveling and travel hairdryer. But even within those topics, there are specific keywords that consumers are searching for, and they're searching in different ways. They're talking about travel essentials, summer essentials, holiday essentials. Basically, they want to try and understand what type of essential kits, size packs, etc., should they be carrying when they're traveling or going on a holiday, right? And this is where I encourage you to think about that if, then, and therefore framework. So how we can position it is if travel and luggage related products are trending on Space NK, then there's a growing interest in travel related beauty needs. That could be minis, that could be travel kits, like we're seeing here, travel essentials. Therefore, this presents a timely opportunity for you to align on product positioning and marketing efforts during these times. Now, with that said, there's obviously multiple different keywords that you can see here per topic, right? And there's 4 pages that you can go on and search for these top keywords for. But how can you use this more efficiently? You can go ahead and create a keyword list of all of these keywords within that topic. I'm going to call it traveling essentials. And I'm going to click on create, and it's going to get saved on my platform. Now, how do you use this to your advantage? What can you action from this, right? That's when you jump into the next report, which is the keywords report. Now, as you can see, we've got Space NK on there and some of its main competitors. But what I've done is I've included that keyword list that we just created for traveling essentials, and I've removed anything that is non-branded. All right. Now, if you look at this keyword list, what you can see is all of those different ways and means of people searching for the travel essentials related category, right? You've got pharmacy, travel, sun travels essentials, and you can see, interestingly, even though Space NK was getting a lot of growth from this particular category, it's not enough as compared to the other competitor websites. Because if you look at Boots, they're getting more traffic for these travel essential related terms. And if you scroll down towards these keywords, you can actually see which are the ones that they're winning traffic from. So if you look at the yellow color, that's where Boots is winning a lot of traffic. You can see the likes of holiday essentials, sun travel sun travel kit. That's where Boots is getting 100% of the traffic. But how you can identify opportunities is by looking at what has more of a demand. And that's what you look at when it comes to the average volume, the search volume. So with that said, all of these topics and keywords are your opportunities to be able to update content, optimize content, bid on these keywords, etc. as well. And again, if we had to think about some of those, some that if, then, and therefore framework, if your competitors are ranking high on high performing travel related keywords, then you risk the share of losing voice and visibility if you're also not targeting those terms. Therefore, tracking and acting on these competitive keyword gaps is essential to stay in the consideration set of your consumer. So that's how you can action some of those insights that we saw there. One last thing that I want to show you today is the new Similarweb homepage. Now, this is a homepage that all of you can find in your platforms. It sits within the home section, but it basically gives you the opportunity to create a project for your competitors or your partners or your retailers, right? We've created one for Project Space and K. And you can see we're looking at 10 different competitors within the UK. And it also gives you the ability to subscribe to email alerts. Now, this is where you can stay on top of your game. Anything that's changing in the market, any new activity that your competitor is pushing or activating, that would come to you as an alert in your inbox. It's that simple. So let's jump into this, right? What this is showing you is basically how is Space NK performing as opposed to its competitors. You can see that the traffic share is likely lower than some of the other competitors, but week over week, you can see that it's growing in terms of traffic. And if you scroll down further, you can actually decide topics that you want to track your performance for. So let's say we're Space NK today, and you wanted to track your performance for sleeping masks, travel essentials, all the different types of acids that people generally search for. In this case, if we take that travel essentials example, you can see that right now, Space NK is not the market leader there. It's actually Boots, who's getting 70% of that traffic just in the last week. This is only the last week, right? And you can see that the share of voice for Space NK has actually dropped 9%. So this is how you can track all of the relevant topics that you want to be really visible for, and be tracking against your competitors. The next thing that you can do here is the keywords trends report. Now, this is where you can actually set up a rank tracker campaign for all the keywords and the topics that you want to be more visible for. So that's really quick daily, weekly insights that you can action really quickly as well. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to bring to your notice here is you've got this alert section. This is the alerts that we were talking about. This would tell you how Space NK's competitor, in this case, is winning more traffic. You can see Beauty Bay has got 15 new organic landing pages that it's introduced. If you scroll down further, you can see Boots has got 200 new organic pages that it's introduced, right? And the best part is that you can actually look at the content on these pages as well. So one of the things that I noticed was that Boots and John Lewis and Cult Beauty, they're all talking about this sleeping mask, which seems to be something that's trending in the last week or two. They've introduced new landing pages and they've introduced new paid landing pages, which means they're going big on this category. They're bidding on these terms. They want to get more traffic and hence more conversions for sleeping masks specifically. And what the update would look like is something like this. So we've partnered with Newslever, and they're a Similarweb company who would give you this type of an insight email every week or so. You just need to subscribe to those alerts, and you would get to know everything that's going on in the market relevant to that category and that topic. That said, you can also see an example of the weekly update that you get in your email for that project that we just created for Space NK. So it would give you weekly highlights in terms of your traffic share. You can download this as a PDF and share it internally as well. And you can see who else is gaining in the last week or so. But that was everything that we wanted to go through today. Hope that was useful for everyone.
Amazing. So thank you so much. And the last step that you shared about the email digest and the alerts, I think it was 8% of or 12% of you that said that they get this kind of alert. So as so mentioned, it takes literally a click of a button to make sure that you get these updates into your email. So again, we really encourage you to do that. So I'm gonna share my screen now back.
Sure.
Thank you again for the amazing walkthrough. We do have quite some questions from you that we already answered a few. Oh, let me share the right screen. And yeah, we will dive into the Q&A in just a second, but so shared such a detailed walkthrough that I just wanted to recap some of the key points there. So, what are the main steps, or what is the suggested flow that we suggest to really elevate your competitive benchmarking and tracking in a few seconds? So started with analyzing your market, really understanding what are the market shifts that you see against your main competitors. And again, you are the one to choose how do you define your market. It could be the direct suspect and the competitors but it could be some growing players and upcoming threats that you want to make sure that you're tracking and keeping an eye on. But then you want to go one level deeper and have a more granular analysis after you really understood who are you against. It's really important that you can break down the competition into specific business lines. So it's not only to know that competitor B is actually increasing market share, it's more important to understand where have they invested money in new kind of products and new business lines. Is there a business line that I'm not even aware of? There are some really interesting insights and surprises by using this report that we really recommend you look at. Then again, take the next step. After you understood what business lines are a priority for your competitor, how are they supporting that? What kind of marketing activities have they invested in to make sure that they grow the traffic and market share? And how is it different than other channels that you have? Maybe it's time to revisit your marketing tactics against the competition. And we all want to grow the traffic to our website. So shared how you can increase traffic by really diving deeper into the world of keywords and really making sure that you track the right topics and focus on the topics that are really relevant to your brand offering or business. And finally, as we mentioned, there are really quick, effective ways to make sure that you always get email digest and alerts about the competition. It's not only about getting those updates into your email. It's also about open up the homepage of Similarweb and see at a glance how did your share of traffic change week over week. How are you winning or losing traffic share to your competitors? Break down the competition into specific project that you care about and specific topics, so it will be easier for you to track the business KPIs you care about, and then just subscribe, update those changes so it's easy for you to track. Obviously, there is a lot that we can learn more about. So we really encourage you to go to our Knowledge Center where you can read more about business lines and other segment analysis, marketing channels, and everything that is new and relevant to your needs. You can find it there. So you can quickly scan the code or go offline and read more about how our customers are using the platform.